Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going deep, deep under the hood with a deep dive into car maintenance secrets that mechanics
Oh, yeah.
might not want you to know about.
Those sneaky mechanics.
Right. We've got 13 tips here coming straight from the source. Some stuff that,
Straight from the horse's mouth.
yeah.
Right?
So if you're ready to save some money and keep your car running like a dream,
Take control.
let's dive right in. All right. So secret number one is all about that dreaded maintenance required light.
Oh, yeah.
The one that pops up on your dashboard and makes you think
Sends shivers down your spine.
you know you're in for some major trouble, right?
Yep.
But is it really always that serious?
Not necessarily.
Okay, good.
A lot of times that light is just a friendly reminder.
Okay.
It's telling you, hey, it's time for some routine maintenance, like an oil change.
So it's not always a sign that something's
Not always a major catastrophe.
broken.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Now, the key here is to stay on top of those regular oil changes, but you don't always have to rush to the mechanic just to reset that light.
Oh, really?
Yeah, most cars have a pretty simple procedure you can do yourself.
Wait, I can reset that light myself?
You got it.
How?
You can usually find model-specific instructions online,
Oh.
but it usually involves like a combination of button presses or turning the ignition on and off
Oh, okay.
in a specific sequence.
Oh, gotcha.
It's usually pretty quick, and it can save you a trip to the shop.
That's amazing. I'm definitely going to look that up for my car.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Okay, so what about the check engine light?
Uh-oh.
That one's a little more ominous.
That one's a little scarier.
Yeah, always makes my heart skip a beat.
Yeah.
What's the best way to tackle that one?
Well, remember those OBD2 scanners we've talked about?
Vaguely.
They're kind of like a secret weapon
Okay.
for deciphering those check engine warnings.
So what do they do exactly?
It's a device you plug into your car's computer,
Oh, okay.
and it reads those diagnostic codes that are triggering that light.
Oh, so it's like having a direct line to my car's brain.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, that's cool.
It tells you what's going on.
No more guessing games?
No more expensive diagnostic fees at the mechanic.
That's amazing.
You can do it yourself.
Right, I'm sold.
And they're incredibly affordable,
Okay.
especially compared to that diagnostic appointment.
Right.
So it's a good investment.
I'm adding that to my toolbox ASAP. All right, let's move on to secret number 2, bleeding your brakes when replacing brake pads.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I've done brake pad replacements before,
Uh-huh.
and I have to admit I never bled the system.
You know you're not alone.
Okay, good.
A lot of DIRs skip this step.
Goes.
Is it really that big of a deal?
It's actually crucial for your brake system's health and performance.
Okay. All right. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Explain it to me.
So think of your brake system as like a network of fluid-filled lines.
Okay.
When you compress the caliper piston to make room for those new pads, you're pushing fluid back up through the lines.
Okay.
If you don't open that bleeder valve,
You're forcing old contaminated fluid back into the system.
oh, I see the problem.
Yeah, and that old fluid can have moisture, debris, all sorts of stuff.
So it's not good.
It can damage components like the ABS module,
Oh, wow.
and it can lead to corrosion over time.
Okay, so bleeding the brakes basically flushes all that out.
Yeah, you get that fresh, clean fluid in there.
Makes sense.
Optimal performance, longer life for your braking system.
All right, I'm convinced. Next time I replace my brake pads, I'm definitely bleeding the system.
Good plan.
All right, so walk me through it.
Okay, so you'll need a wrench to open the bleeder valve on each caliper.
Okay.
It's best to have a helper.
Okay.
One person pumps the brakes, the other opens and closes the valve.
Okay.
And remember, keep that master cylinder topped off.
Okay, the master cylinder, what is that?
That's the reservoir that holds your brake fluid.
Oh, okay, got it.
Make sure it's full throughout the process.
Okay, so pump the brakes open, the valve, close the valve, repeat,
Right.
and don't let that master cylinder run dry. Got it.
All right, moving on to secret number 3.
Okay.
We're tackling the world of additives.
Oh, yeah.
Are those bottles of Magic Potion really worth the hype, or are they just a marketing ploy?
I've always been skeptical about those fuel additives.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't modern gasoline already have everything it needs?
You're right to be skeptical for most modern gas engines.
Yeah.
The claims about increased fuel efficiency and horsepower are usually exaggerated.
Right.
The gasoline you get at the pump already has the detergents and additives it needs.
Okay, so I can skip those pricey additives for my gas-powered car.
Yeah.
But what about diesel engines? You mentioned those were a different story.
Oh, yeah. Diesel's a whole other ballgame.
Okay.
Diesel engines actually do benefit from certain additives.
Okay.
Now, diesel fuel unlike gasoline, has a tendency to gel in cold temperatures.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so there are additives specifically for diesel engines that help prevent that,
Okay.
which can clog up fuel lines and filters.
So if you've got a diesel, especially in a cold climate,
Yeah,
you might want to consider those additives.
definitely a good idea.
Okay, so are there any situations where those additives might be helpful for a gas-powered car?
There are a couple of scenarios.
Okay.
If you've got an older car with a carburetor,
Yeah.
the fuel injectors can get gummed up.
All right.
A fuel system cleaner can help with that.
Okay.
Or if you ever have to use low-quality fuel,
Oh, yeah.
an additive can kind of compensate
Okay.
for the lack of detergents and prevent problems.
So there are some cases where they can be helpful.
Yeah.
All right, good to know.
All right.
So moving on to secret number 4. This is a scenario I think we all dread: a freezing winter morning. You turn on your car heater,
Yeah,
expecting that blast of warm air
right.
and ice cold air.
Oh, no.
What's going on there?
Usually it's a simple fix.
Okay, good.
Low coolant levels.
Coolant?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
The heater core needs a steady flow of coolant to function properly.
So if it's low, the heater can't do its job.
Exactly.
All right, so before I panic and assume my heater's broken,
Right.
I should check the coolant level.
Absolutely.
Up there.
Simple check you can do yourself.
Okay, and where do I find that?
It's usually a translucent plastic tank under the hood
Okay,
with markings for minimum and maximum levels.
got it.
Easy peasy.
Okay, feeling empowered already. Right, on to secret number 5, and this one really surprised me. Car batteries have a shelf life.
You'd think a new battery is a new battery,
Yeah,
but once they're filled with acid at the factory,
yeah.
a slow discharge process begins,
Oh, wow.
even if it's just sitting on a shelf.
So how do I make sure I'm not getting a dud?
Always check that manufacturing date before you buy.
Okay,
Aim for one that's less than a month old.
a month old.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And here's a pro tip.
Okay.
Once you get that new battery, give it a good charge for an hour or two before installing it.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it ensures it's fully charged and ready to go.
Okay, I like it. All right, moving on to secret number 6, spark plugs. Those little guys that make the engine go boom.
Yeah, tiny but mighty.
I always thought they were pretty much set and forget.
They're designed to last a lot longer these days.
Okay.
But even with those long life plugs, regular inspection is still important.
Okay, so what should I be looking for when I'm inspecting them?
Pay attention to the electrode.
The electrode.
That's a little tip at the end.
Okay.
Over time, it can wear down,
Oh, okay.
causing a wider gap and weakening the spark.
Gotcha.
Also check for carbon buildup.
Okay.
That can impede the spark as well.
And what happens if I ignore those signs?
You can get misfires.
Misfires.
Yeah, that means the spark plug isn't igniting the fuel-air mixture properly.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
It can lead to reduced power,
Okay.
poor acceleration,
Gotcha.
rough idling,
Uh-huh.
and even increased fuel consumption.
Okay, so definitely want to avoid that.
Definitely.
How often should I be inspecting them?
Good rule of thumb is every 30,000 miles or so, or whenever you're doing other maintenance, like an oil change.
Got it. Check those spark plugs. Right, secret number 7. Hit me with it.
This one's about a habit. I think we're all guilty of overfilling the gas tank.
Oh, yeah, I am totally guilty of that.
That urge to squeeze in those last few drops.
Round it up to the next dollar, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But what's the harm?
Well, yeah. I mean, is it really a big deal?
It might seem harmless,
Yeah.
but it can actually cause a few problems.
Okay.
First, it can lead to fuel spills.
Okay.
Messy, wasteful,
Yeah.
potentially harmful to the environment.
Right.
More importantly, it can damage your car's vapor recovery system.
Vapor recovery system. Okay, now you're getting technical.
Yeah, it's a system that captures those gasoline vapors
Okay.
that would otherwise escape into the atmosphere.
Oh, okay.
It's a crucial part of your car's emissions control system.
Gotcha.
And when you overfill your tank,
Yeah.
you can actually flood that system with liquid fuel,
Oh, I see.
which can damage it and reduce its effectiveness.
Okay, so it's not just bad for my wallet and the environment.
Right.
It's bad for my car, too.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm never overfilling my tank again.
Good.
All right, what's next?
Let's talk about the air filter.
Oh, the air filter.
Yeah,
That one seems pretty straightforward.
it is, but it's often overlooked.
Okay.
It's important to keep it clean.
Yeah. I mean, it traps dirt and debris, but how big of a deal can it really be?
Well, imagine trying to breathe through a straw.
Okay.
That's what your engine's experiencing when the air filter's clogged.
Okay.
And that restricted airflow can cause a whole host of problems.
Like what?
Well, first, it can reduce your engine's power,
Oh.
make it feel sluggish.
Uh-huh.
Second, it can decrease fuel economy.
Oh, because it's working harder
Exactly.
to get the air it needs?
Right.
Right.
And finally, it can increase emissions
Oh, wow.
because the engine can't burn fuel as efficiently.
So a clogged air filter is bad news all around.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so how often should I be replacing it?
Every 12,000 to 15,000 miles is a good rule of thumb.
Okay.
But if you drive on dusty roads or in areas with high pollution,
Yeah.
you might need to replace it more often.
Okay, I'll keep an eye on it.
Good plan.
All right, secret number 9, the PCV valve.
Okay.
What is this thing and why should I care about it?
It stands for positive crankcase ventilation.
Okay.
And it's this little valve that plays a crucial role
Okay.
in regulating gases
Yeah.
and pressure inside your engine.
Okay, so how does it work?
Well, as your engine runs combustion, gases can leak past the piston rings
Okay.
and into the crankcase.
Uh-huh.
That's the area below the pistons.
Gotcha.
And those gases contain contaminants that can mix with oil
Yeah.
and form sludge.
Oh, sludge is bad.
Yes, sludge is bad news.
Okay.
So that's where the PCV valve comes in. It
Uh-huh.
acts like a one-way valve,
Okay.
allowing those blow-by gases to be drawn back into the intake manifold
Okay.
and burned in the combustion process.
So it's like a recycling system for those harmful gases?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it helps prevent sludge buildup,
Mm-hmm.
reduce emissions,
Okay.
improve your engine's overall performance.
So what happens if it gets clogged or fails?
You can get a number of problems.
Like?
Rough
Yeah.
idling,
Okay.
increased oil consumption,
Yeah.
oil leaks,
Uh,
and even engine damage.
definitely don't want that. So how do I keep this PCV valve happy?
A regular inspection is key.
Okay, how often?
Check it every 10,000 to 15,000 miles.
Okay.
And what you want to do is make sure the valve rattles when you shake it.
Oh,
If it doesn't rattle,
yeah.
it's probably clogged and needs to be replaced.
So a rattling PCV valve is a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Okay.
It means it's doing its job.
I like it.
And the good news is,
Yeah.
replacing a PCV valve is a relatively simple and inexpensive fix.
Those are my favorite kinds of fixes.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, secret number 10, fluids.
Ah, the lifeblood of your car.
We all know oil changes are important,
Uh-huh.
but what about other fluids?
Yeah, you've got your transmission fluid.
Transmission fluid, okay.
Especially important if you want to avoid a big repair bill down the road.
Okay, break it down for me. What does transmission fluid actually do?
So your transmission transfers power from the engine to the wheels,
Okay.
and the transmission fluid lubricates all the moving parts inside,
Okay.
ensures smooth shifting, and prevents wear and tear.
So it's like oil, but for the transmission.
Yeah, pretty much.
And just like oil, it needs to be changed regularly.
Exactly.
Okay, what happens if I don't change it?
You could get rough shifting,
Okay.
slipping gears overheating, and eventually complete transmission failure.
Oh, that's bad.
That's a repair you want to avoid.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Okay, so how often should I be changing my transmission fluid?
Check your owner's manual for specifics,
Okay.
but generally every 30,000 to 60,000 miles.
Okay.
And if you tow heavy loads or drive in extreme conditions, you might need to change it more often.
Okay, good to know. So oil changes, transmission fluid changes, check and check.
You got it.
Now, you mentioned something earlier about synthetic oil.
Oh, yeah.
What's the advantage of using synthetic oil?
It's engineered to provide superior lubrication and protection.
Okay.
It's more resistant to breakdown at high temperatures,
Mhm.
flows better in cold weather,
Okay.
and can last longer between changes.
So it's kind of like a performance upgrade for my engine.
Yeah, I could say that.
Okay, I'm sold synthetic oil. It is. All right, secret number 11, tire pressure.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I usually just eyeball my tires.
You and everyone else.
Okay, good.
But eyeballing it is not the best approach.
Okay, why not?
Maintaining the proper tire pressure is crucial for safety handling and fuel efficiency.
Okay, what's the big deal with underinflated tires?
You get increased rolling resistance.
Okay.
It means your engine has to work harder,
Okay.
which means lower gas mileage.
Right.
They also wear out faster,
Okay.
and they're more prone to blowouts.
Oh, wow, that's scary.
Yeah, dangerous.
Okay, and what about overinflated tires? Is that bad too?
Yeah, it can make your ride harsher,
Okay.
reduce grip on the road,
Uh-huh.
and cause uneven wear.
So it's all about finding that sweet spot.
Exactly, and that sweet spot is in your owner's manual
Oh.
or on the sticker on the driver's side door jamb.
Okay, I'm going to go check that out right now.
Yeah, good idea.
All right, secret number 12, brake fluid.
Oh, yeah, another one that's easy to forget about.
Yeah, it's not something we really think about, but
Yeah.
why is it so important?
Well, brake fluid is hygroscopic.
Hygroscopic.
It means it absorbs moisture over time.
Oh, okay.
And that moisture can cause corrosion in your brake lines and calipers, which reduces braking performance and can lead to dangerous brake failures.
So regular brake fluid changes are a must.
Definitely.
How often are we talking?
Every 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
Or as recommended in your owner's manual.
Okay.
So.
Got it. I'm adding that to my car maintenance checklist. All right. Last but not least, secret number 13, belts and hoses.
Okay.
What's the deal with those?
They might not be glamorous.
Yeah.
But they play a vital role.
Okay.
In keeping your engine running smoothly.
All right. So what do I need to know about them?
So they drive various components in your engine.
Okay.
Like the alternator, power steering pump, water pump, and air conditioning compressor.
Gotcha.
They also circulate fluids like coolant and power steering fluid.
So they're kind of like the veins and arteries of my engine.
Yeah, good analogy.
And if they're not working properly, that can cause problems.
It's big problems.
Okay, so what should I be looking for when I inspect them?
For belts, check for cracks, fraying glazing, or excessive wear.
Okay.
For hoses, for bulges, cracks, leaks, or soft spots.
Got it. And if I see any of those signs?
It's time to replace them.
Okay, and if I don't?
You could end up with a broken belt or hose.
Yeah.
And that can lead to all sorts of problems.
Like?
Overheating, loss of power steering, battery drainage, and even complete engine failure.
Okay, I'm definitely going to be inspecting my belts and hoses regularly.
Good plan.
All right, so regular inspections prompt replacements.
Exactly.
And when in doubt, consult my owner's manual or a trusted mechanic.
Always a good idea.
Okay, great advice. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
From dashboard lights and fluids to spark plugs, air filters, PCV valves, and those all-important belts and hoses.
It's a lot.
It's amazing how much we can do ourselves.
Yeah.
To keep our cars running smoothly and avoid those costly repairs.
Empowering, isn't it?
I feel empowered.
Good.
All right, well, that's it for part 1 of our deep dive into car maintenance secrets.
Yeah.
We'll be back shortly with more tips and insights in part 2.
Can't wait. You know, it's amazing all the stuff we put our cars through.
It really is, and they just keep on going most of the time. Right. But speaking of keeping them going, you mentioned earlier using the right fluids for your car. We talked about synthetic oil and transmission fluid, but what about other fluids like coolant? Is there a one-size-fits-all approach, or?
That's a great question, and it's a really important one.
Okay.
Because you can't just use any old coolant.
Oh, really?
Yeah, using the wrong type can actually damage your cooling system.
Oh, wow.
And lead to some pricey repairs.
So I need to be specific.
Absolutely. Modern engines are designed to work with specific types of coolant.
Okay.
Some are for aluminum engines. Some are better for older cast iron blocks.
So how do I know which one my car needs?
Your owner's manual is your best friend.
Okay, back to the owner's manual.
Yeah, it'll tell you exactly what type of coolant you need.
Okay, owner's manual, it is now. Let's revisit that gas tank overfilling issue. I know we touched on it briefly, but you mentioned the vapor recovery system.
Yeah.
Can you explain exactly what that is and why it's so important?
Sure. So the vapor recovery system is kind of like a hidden hero, working behind the scenes to protect the environment.
Okay.
It's designed to capture those gasoline vapors that escape from your tank.
Okay.
And prevent them from being released into the atmosphere.
So like an environmental safety net.
Exactly.
For those pesky gas fumes.
Right. And when you overfill your tank, you can actually force liquid gasoline into this system.
Oh, wow.
Which can damage its components.
So it's not just about making a mess.
No, it's about protecting the environment.
Okay, got it. No more topping it off.
Oh.
Now let's talk about those spark plugs again. I know we covered the basics, but what are some telltale signs that mine might be nearing the end of their life?
Well, one thing you can do is listen to your engine.
Okay.
If you start to notice a rough idle or your engine hesitates when you accelerate, that could be a sign of worn-out spark plugs.
So those misfires you mentioned earlier?
Exactly. Misfires happen when the spark plug isn't able to ignite the fuel air mixture properly.
Right.
And it can lead to a decrease in performance and fuel economy.
Okay, so a rough running engine could be a cry for help from my spark plugs.
It could be, and if you catch it early, you can replace those worn-out plugs.
Yeah.
And get your engine running smoothly again.
Okay, good to know. Now let's imagine another scenario. It's a bone-chilling winter morning.
Oh.
And I turn on my car heater, expecting a wave of warm air, but all I get is a blast of icy air. What's going on there?
Oh, the dreaded cold car heater.
Yeah.
It's a common problem in the winter.
Yeah.
And it can be a real shock to the system.
Especially on those freezing mornings.
Yeah. So before you assume your heater is broken,
Okay.
the first thing you should check is your coolant level.
So we're back to coolant again?
Remember the heater core that generates that warm air for you?
Uh-huh.
It relies on that steady flow of coolant.
Right.
If the coolant level's low, it can't do its job.
Okay, so it's a simple check that could save me a lot of discomfort.
Absolutely.
Now, speaking of simple checks, let's dive into that PCV valve again. I'm still trying to wrap my head around what it does and why it's so important.
It's all about protecting your engine from harmful buildup.
Okay.
It's part of the positive crankcase ventilation system,
Uh-huh.
which helps remove those blow-by gases that escape past the piston rings.
Okay, I remember you mentioning those.
Right? And those gases contain harmful contaminants that can mix with oil and create engine sludge.
The engine killer.
Exactly. And that's where the PCV valve comes in.
Okay.
It acts as a one-way door, allowing those gases to be routed back into the intake manifold.
Okay.
Where they're burned in the combustion process.
So it's like a ventilation system for my engine.
Yeah, a very important one.
Okay, I'm definitely starting to see the importance of this little valve, but how do I know if it's working properly?
One way to check is to remove the PCV valve from the engine and shake it.
Oh, okay.
If you hear a rattling sound, it's a good sign that it's functioning properly.
So a rattling PCV valve is actually a good thing.
It means it's not stuck or clogged. If it doesn't rattle, it's probably time for a replacement.
Got it. A rattling valve is a happy valve.
I like that.
Now let's shift gears and talk about tires.
Okay.
We know they need to be replaced eventually, but what are some signs that mine might be nearing the end of their life?
Well, one of the most obvious signs is tread depth.
Okay.
You know, your tire's tread is what grips the road.
Yeah.
So as it wears down, your car's handling and braking performance can suffer.
Okay, so how do I check the tread depth?
There's a simple trick using a penny.
A penny?
Yeah, insert the penny into the tread groove with Lincoln's head upside down.
Oh.
You can see the top of his head.
Yeah.
It's a sign that your tread is worn down and it's time for new tires.
Oh, that's a good tip. I'm going to check mine as soon as we're done here.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
You should also keep an eye out for any uneven wear patterns, bulges, cracks, or punctures.
So a visual inspection is important too?
Absolutely. And don't forget about tire pressure.
Right.
Maintaining the correct pressure is crucial for safety, fuel efficiency, and tire longevity.
You talked about that earlier, yeah.
It's amazing how much of an impact something so simple can have.
It really is. And now let's revisit that topic of brake fluid. It's a critical component
It is.
of your braking system, and neglecting it can have some serious consequences.
Definitely.
So how often should I be changing it?
Most car manufacturers recommend changing your brake fluid every 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
However, if you live in a humid climate
Yeah.
or do a lot of hard braking,
Yeah.
you might want to change it more frequently.
Okay, good to know. I'll make sure to check my owner's manual for specific recommendations.
Always a good idea.
Now let's talk about brake pads. They're the workhorses of the braking system.
They are, and they do wear down over time.
So how do I know when it's time for new ones?
You'll usually start to hear a squealing or grinding sound when you apply the brakes.
Okay, that's a sound I definitely don't want to ignore.
No, you don't. That's a warning sign that your brake pads are worn down and need to be replaced.
Okay, so squealing brakes equals new brake pads.
Pretty much.
All right, now what about those mysterious noises that sometimes come from under the hood? How can I tell if it's something serious or just a minor annoyance?
Well, that's where your detective skills come in.
Okay.
Try to pinpoint the source of the noise
Okay.
and pay attention to when it occurs.
Right.
Does it happen only when you start the car, when you accelerate, or when you're idling?
Okay, so gathering clues can help narrow down the possibilities.
Exactly. And don't forget to check your owner's manual.
Right.
It often has a troubleshooting section
Okay.
that can help you diagnose common car problems.
Great tip.
Yeah.
I need to spend more time getting to know my owner's manual.
The valuable resource.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this episode, from dashboard lights and fluids to tires, brakes, and even those mysterious under-the-hood noises. It's amazing how much we can learn about our cars just by paying attention and asking the right questions.
It really is. And the more you learn, the more confident you'll become as a car owner.
I'm already feeling more knowledgeable and ready to tackle some of these maintenance tasks myself.
That's great to hear.
So what's next on our list of car care secrets?
Let's talk about the cooling system.
Okay, the cooling system, we know coolant is important,
Mm-hmm.
but what exactly does the cooling system do and why is it so crucial?
Well, your engine generates a tremendous amount of heat when it's running.
Yeah.
And if that heat isn't properly managed,
Yeah.
it can cause some serious damage.
Okay, so the cooling system is like a temperature control system for my engine.
Exactly. It's a closed system that circulates coolant through the engine, absorbing heat, and then dissipating it through the radiator.
So it's a continuous cycle of heat absorption and release.
Right. And if any part of that cycle breaks down, your engine could overheat.
And overheating is bad news.
Really bad news. It can lead to warped engine components, blown head gaskets, and even complete engine failure.
Okay, I'm getting the picture. A healthy cooling system is crucial.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So what are some things you can do to keep your cooling system in tip-top shape?
Great question.
One of the most important things is to check your coolant level regularly.
Okay.
Just like with your engine oil, your coolant level can drop over time.
Yeah.
And if it gets too low, your engine won't be able to cool itself properly.
Okay, so I need to keep an eye on that coolant reservoir.
Exactly. You should also inspect your radiator hoses.
Okay.
For any signs of leaks, cracks, or bulges.
Got it. And what about the radiator itself?
Make sure the radiator fins are clear of debris.
Okay.
And that the fan is working properly.
The fan. Okay.
The fan helps draw air through the radiator to dissipate heat.
So coolant hoses, radiator, and fan, those are the key players.
Right. And don't forget about the thermostat.
Oh, the thermostat.
Yeah, it's a small valve
Okay.
that regulates the flow of coolant.
Uh-huh.
And make sure the engine reaches its optimal operating temperature.
Okay, I'm starting to realize that there's a lot more to car care than just oil changes and tire rotations.
There is, but it's not as complicated as it seems.
Yeah.
Once you understand the basics.
Now, speaking of systems, let's talk about the electrical system.
Oh, the electrical system. That's a big one.
It is so, what does it do and why is it so important?
Well, it's basically the nervous system of your car.
Okay.
It powers everything from your headlights and radio to your engine's ignition system and fuel pump.
Wow. I never realized how much it does.
It's easy to take it for granted until something goes wrong.
Right.
But without a properly functioning electrical system, your car is going nowhere.
Okay, so what are some signs that my electrical system might be having issues?
Keep an eye out for dimming headlights, flickering interior lights,
Okay.
slow cranking starts, or any warning lights related to the battery or alternator.
So any electrical gremlins could be a sign of trouble.
They could be. And speaking of batteries,
Yeah.
remember we talked about how they have a shelf life?
Yeah, even if they're unused.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So always check the manufacturing date before you buy a new battery.
Okay.
Aim for one that's less than a month old.
The fresher, the better.
Absolutely. And remember that pro tip we talked about earlier?
About giving the new battery a good charge before installing it.
That's the one. It's like giving it a jump start to a long and healthy life.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about flat tires.
Every driver's nightmare.
Yeah, it's one of those things that can happen to anyone at any time.
And it's important to be prepared.
Okay, so let's say I'm driving along and I get a flat tire. What are the essential steps I need to take?
First and foremost, stay calm.
Okay, easier said than done.
I know, but it's important to think clearly and act safely.
Right.
If possible, pull over to a safe location away from traffic.
Okay.
Turn on your hazard lights. And set up flares or reflective triangles to alert other drivers.
Okay, safety first. What's next?
Check your owner's manual
Okay.
for instructions on how to access your spare tire and jack.
So I need to know where my spare tire is
Yeah.
and how to use the jack.
Exactly, and make sure you have all the necessary tools. A lug wrench and a tire pressure gauge.
So spare, tire jack, lug wrench, and tire pressure gauge. Got it all.
Great. Now, before you start jacking up the car,
Yeah.
loosen the lug nuts on the flat tire slightly.
Why do I need to do that before jacking up the car?
It's much easier to loosen them when the tire's still on the ground.
Oh, okay.
Once the car's jacked up, the tire can spin, making it difficult to loosen those lug nuts.
That makes sense. So loosen the lug nuts slightly, then jack up the car.
Right. Carefully raise the car until the flat tire is off the ground.
Okay.
Then you can remove the lug nuts completely and remove the flat tire.
Got it. Then I put the spare tire on.
Exactly. Place the spare tire onto the hub, making sure the lug nut holes line up.
Okay.
Tighten the lug nuts by hand first, and then lower the car until the spare tire touches the ground.
Okay, so I'm basically reversing the process.
That's right. Once the car is back on the ground, you can fully tighten the lug nuts using the lug wrench.
Is there a particular order I should tighten them in?
Yes. Tighten them in a star pattern.
A star pattern.
Okay.
This ensures that the wheel is evenly secured to the hub.
Okay, star pattern. It is anything else I need to do once the spare is on.
Check the tire pressure on the spare tire and inflate it to the proper PSI if needed.
Got it. And then I can get back on the road.
You got it. But remember, a spare tire is just a temporary fix.
Right.
You'll need to have that flat tire repaired or replaced as soon as possible.
Okay, great advice. Now let's talk about car batteries, those little powerhouses.
They're essential for starting your engine and powering all those electrical components we talked about.
Right, but they don't last forever.
Unfortunately not.
So what are some signs that mine might be nearing the end of its life?
Well, one of the most common signs is a slow cranking start.
Okay.
If your engine struggles to turn over when you turn the key,
Yeah.
that could be a sign that your battery's losing its charge.
Okay, so slow cranking equals weak battery.
That's a good rule of thumb. You should also keep an eye out for dimming headlights, flickering interior lights.
Or any warning lights related to the battery or alternator.
So basically, any electrical gremlins could be a sign of battery trouble.
They could be.
Yeah.
Now, what can you do to prolong the life of your battery?
That's a good question.
One of the simplest things is to keep your battery terminals clean
Okay.
and free of corrosion.
Corrosion. How do I clean that?
You can use a mixture of baking soda and water.
Oh, okay.
Just be sure to disconnect the battery cables before cleaning.
Safety first.
Always. And if you live in a cold climate,
Yeah.
you might want to consider a battery blanket or a trickle charger.
I've heard that cold weather can really zap a battery's power.
Cold temperatures reduce a battery's cranking power.
Okay, so battery blanket or trickle charger noted. Now let's talk about frozen car doors.
Oh yeah, that's a fun one.
It's a common problem in the winter.
It is, and it can be incredibly frustrating.
I've been there. It's like my car's encased in ice.
And forcing a frozen door open can damage the seals.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or even break the handle.
Okay, so what's the best way to prevent my doors from freezing shut?
Before the cold weather hits, apply a thin layer of silicone spray or lubricant to the rubber seals around your doors.
Okay.
That will help prevent them from sticking to the metal frame.
So it's like giving my car doors a little winter coat.
Exactly. A simple preventative measure that can save you a lot of hassle.
And if my door does freeze shut?
You can try using a hairdryer on a low setting.
Oh, okay.
Just be careful not to hold it too close to the paint.
Got it. What about frozen locks?
You can try using a de-icer spray.
Okay.
Specifically designed for car locks.
Uh-huh.
Or, in a pinch, you can try warming up your car key with a lighter.
Okay.
For a few seconds and gently inserting it into the lock.
Hopefully I won't need to resort to those methods, but it's good to know what to do.
Always good to be prepared.
You know, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive, from routine maintenance to those unexpected car troubles.
It's been a journey.
It really has. It's amazing how much there is to learn about cars.
There is. But the more you know, the more empowered you become as a car owner.
I'm feeling much more confident already.
Good. That's the goal.
So what's next on our list of car care secrets?
Let's talk about the air conditioning system.
Okay, the AC system. I thought that was just for staying cool in the summer.
It's definitely important for that.
Yeah.
But it also plays a vital role in defogging your windshield.
Oh.
And removing humidity from the air inside your car.
So it's important for visibility as well.
Absolutely. A properly functioning AC system can help you see clearly.
Yeah.
And breathe easily, even on the most humid days.
So what are some things I can do to keep my AC system running smoothly?
One of the most important things is to have it serviced regularly.
Regularly? Okay.
Just like any other system in your car.
Yeah.
The AC system needs occasional attention.
How often are we talking?
It's a good idea to have it checked at least once a year.
Okay.
Ideally before the start of the hot season.
Makes sense. What does an AC service typically involve?
A technician will check the refrigerant level, inspect the hoses and belts for leaks or damage, and make sure the system is functioning properly.
So regular service can help prevent those sweltering summer breakdowns.
Absolutely. And it can also help extend the lifespan of your AC system.
Okay, AC service added to the list. You know, it's amazing how something as seemingly simple as a car can involve so many interconnected systems.
It really is a complex machine.
We'll be back shortly with more tips and insights in part 3 of this deep dive into car maintenance secrets. All right, we're back for the final stretch of our deep dive into car maintenance secrets.
Yeah, those secrets mechanics don't always want you to know.
Exactly. We've covered a lot of ground already, from preventative maintenance to understanding all those systems under the hood.
A lot of systems.
Right. But what happens when things actually go wrong? How can we be better troubleshooters before we have to call in the pros?
Well, it's all about being observant and paying attention to the clues your car is giving you.
Okay, so like being a car detective?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sure.
First off, be specific about the problem. What's the car doing or not doing? When did it start? Are there any weird sounds or smells?
So like create a symptom checklist.
Yeah, the more details you can gather, the better.
Okay, makes sense.
And then think back to any recent work that's been done on the car.
Oh, like if I just got an oil change or had some parts replaced.
Exactly. Sometimes a new problem can be traced back to a recent repair.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
And of course, your owner's manual is your best friend.
Right. Always consult the owner's manual.
It's packed with troubleshooting tips specific to your car.
Okay, but what if I've done all that and I still can't figure out what's wrong?
Then it's probably time to call in a professional.
Okay.
But even then, having a basic understanding of your car and being able to describe the problem accurately can help you avoid unnecessary repairs or getting taken advantage of.
Right. Knowledge is power even at the mechanic shop.
Now, speaking of power, let's talk about car batteries again. We talked about checking the manufacturing date and giving a new battery a good charge before installing it.
Right.
But what about maintenance once it's in the car?
Well, keeping those battery terminals clean and corrosion-free is super important.
Okay, how do I clean those terminals?
A simple mixture of baking soda and water works wonders.
Okay.
Just remember to disconnect the battery cables before cleaning.
Safety first.
Always.
Okay, any other battery-saving tips?
If you live in a cold climate, consider a battery blanket or trickle charger.
Right, those cold temperatures can really drain a battery.
They can reduce its cranking power, making it harder to start your engine.
Okay, good to know. Now let's talk about frozen car doors.
Ah, yes. A classic winter problem.
It's so frustrating.
It is. And forcing a frozen door open can damage the seals or even break the handle.
So prevention is key here.
Absolutely. Before the cold weather hits, apply a thin layer of silicone spray or lubricant to the rubber seals around your doors. That'll help prevent them from sticking to the metal frame.
So it's like winterizing my car doors.
Exactly. And if your door does freeze shut, try using a hairdryer on a low setting to warm up the seals.
Oh, okay.
Just be careful not to hold it too close to the paint.
Got it. What about frozen locks?
For frozen locks, a de-icer spray specifically for cars is your best bet.
Okay.
Or you can try warming up your car key with a lighter for a few seconds.
Okay.
And gently inserting it into the lock.
Hopefully I won't have to resort to those extreme measures, but it's good to be prepared.
Always good to have a plan.
You know, we've covered so much in this deep dive. It's amazing how much there is to know about keeping our cars running smoothly.
It's a lot, but it's worth it.
It really is. I feel so much more confident as a car owner now.
That's what we like to hear. Knowledge is power.
Absolutely. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into car maintenance secrets. We hope you learned a lot and feel empowered to tackle some of these tasks yourself.
Remember, regular maintenance is key to a happy and healthy car.
And when in doubt, consult your owner's manual or a trusted mechanic.
Safe travels, everyone.